What's up, everyone? This is Wes at WMDrums.com, and this is going to be a brief video lesson on a few variations on the right-left kick linear drum pattern. Okay guys, here's the notation for the first thing that I explain in this video. Real quick, the key is the X's are the hi-hat, and the filled-in notes on the line are your snare drum, and the filled-in notes beneath the line are your bass drum. So what you basically have is continual 16th notes, which is written on the bottom. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Now, also, you have these little lines in the hi-hat. Basically, what that's telling you to do is double stroke. So, you can think of them as 30-second notes or just a diddle. So now basically you have the right-left kick pattern over and over again, only except you're doubling your right hand. And the only reason I have these notes circled down here is the 3/4 pattern that I talk about very briefly. And that sounds like this: 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a... And that would go for 3 bars in 4/4 time until you landed back on beat 1. And this up here, in case you don't know, just means to accent that snare drum. This is what I mean when I say leading to beat 2. This happens later on in the video towards the end. The key's still the same: hi-hat, snare, bass. So basically you still have the same pattern: right, left, kick. But the parentheses, what those mean is to ghost those notes or play them very lightly. So now you have right, right ghosted, left ghosted, kick. So that's 1E and then on the of 1 and 2 you have these accents up here. And notice on the of 1 you only have a single stroke with your right hand this time, but it's still falling in the right left kick pattern. And the pattern then ends here on beat 2, and you bring in your hi-hat back in on the and of 2. Okay guys, this idea came from a variation on the pattern right-left kick. So all I did with it was put my right hand on the hi-hat, my left hand on the snare drum, and obviously my right foot's on the bass drum. And with this pattern, I just decided to double my right hand. So right, left, kick, 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 right, left, kick. Now, once I got comfortable with that and kind of decided that I wanted to use it a little bit more, I started playing around with the dynamic levels. So then, the next thing that I did was make the hi-hat basically the softest level that I could make it. And the snare drum, I made a rim shot, so a huge accent with your snare drum. And then the bass drum can either be accented or it can kind of be somewhere in between. It gives it a little kind of flavor to the fill or time variation, whatever you decide to use it as. So that sounds like this: 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So now I counted 16th notes behind it because that's how I decided to use it. So now really, really slow with the 16th notes behind it sounds like this: 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So if you notice, when I reached beat 4, I just played straight 16th notes: 4E and a. This helps me land with my right hand back on the beat, and it also gives the feeling of going back into kind of just a basic rock groove, because when you use this as 16th notes behind a basic 8th note groove, it creates a 3/4 feeling. So now let me give you an example of what that sounds like: 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and a 3 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and a 1 and a 3 So now, once I got really comfortable with it, that's how I decided to use it. Only except I decided to use it more often in quicker, upbeat eighth note beats. Or eighth note rock grooves, I mean, sorry. So now an example of that would be and now on top of that, I decided to maybe play around with it a little more. Sorry. And so what I decided to do was make it lead up to like a heavy accent on the snare drum on beat 2. So now what I changed in the pattern for that was making this the two right hands still very soft, but then I made the left hand very soft in the pattern the first time. And the bass drum was the only accented note. So I changed it to 1, E, and then next in the pattern would be your right hand again. So I decided to accent that note and only make it just a single right. So that sounds like this. 1, E, and A. And then next you have beat 2, which would be your snare drum in a basic rock groove. So that whole thing sounds like this. 1, E, and A, 2. So that leads up to beat 2 basically. So here's what it sounds like in a groove. 3 and So now on top of this, I decided to just be free with my right hand and my left hand. So I decided to do a few other variations. So I'll play a few of those variations and hopefully you'll get something out of this. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and let me know if you liked it or not.